Aloha, Penn Nation. What's up, folks? You're now tuned into yet another edition of BJPenn.com Radio, the fighter's voice. As always, I'm your host, Jay Kench, and we are back yet again, my friends. This is episode 74. We'll be joined by three awesome guests this evening. But before we get into tonight's lineup, you guys already know that your home for MMA news is BJPenn.com. We are your premier source for all things mixed martial arts. Our team is always hard at work, trying to bring you guys the most reliable information, all the breaking news, and a bunch of exclusive content on top of that. As you know, we've relaunched the site. Looks pretty awesome. We've added some new features, some new content as well. We've improved the site navigation. We've not only got BJPenn.com Radio, the fighter's voice, but we've got BJ Penn play-by-play radio, featuring the man himself, BJ Penn, breaking down the fights as they unfold in real time. And our newest project, for all of you Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioners out there, BJJ with BJ. We're bringing you guys technique and instruction videos from BJ Penn. You guys can ask him to go over and break down any technique using the hashtag BJJ with BJ. All that and so much more, plus some really cool stuff in the works on the horizon that I can't get into just yet. But you guys know what's up. Everything you crave from the sport you love of mixed martial arts, BJPenn.com, the fighter's voice. We have got you covered, guys. So, tonight's guest list. First up, we're joined by the incredibly talented, up-and-coming light heavyweight, Dominic Reyes. This kid is undefeated. He's an absolute stud. 2 finishes in the UFC so far, and he is just getting started. We had an awesome conversation with this guy, got to know him a little bit better, and honestly, I've got to tell you folks, this kid has got a veteran's mentality. He's humble. He's super talented. The athleticism, all these things combined, this is a guy to keep your eye on. Second guest of the evening, our good friend, Raquel Pennington. Rocky P finally getting the title shot against the champ Amanda Nunes on May 12th at UFC 224 in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. We'll be previewing the fight, discussing the long road back from her injury, how much she's evolved over that time, believe it or not, and all the hard work it's taken to get to where she is today. It's an awesome conversation with Raquel. I know you guys will enjoy it. She enjoyed it very much, and it's always a pleasure to speak with her. And closing out tonight's show, from a Waffle House somewhere in Arizona, the former title challenger and top 10 flyweight, John Moraga. He's got a fight coming up against Wilson Hayes at UFC on Fox 29 in front of his hometown crowd in Glendale, Arizona. We're going to preview that fight as well. We'll also be getting his take on the title situation in flyweight. His goal is to challenge for the title a second time, get that rematch with DJ, and a whole lot more. But let's waste no more time. I'm your host, Jay Kinch. This is the fighter's voice, BJPenn.com Radio. First up, my friends, undefeated light heavyweight prospect, Dominic Reyes. All right, Penn Nation, please welcome to the show, undefeated light heavyweight prospect, and a man that many are calling the future of the light heavyweight division in the UFC, the Devastator, Dominic Reyes. Thanks for joining us tonight, Dominic. What's the good word at Cobra Kai, my man?
How's it going, man? Thanks for having me. The good word is be good and keep getting better.
All right, I got to ask, man, how is Joe Daddy doing? You know, such a beloved guy by true MMA fans.
Oh, Joe's doing great, man. Everything's going great right now. He's a great mentor. He's a great coach, and Joe's doing great. So no need to worry.
Glad to hear it. You know, it's pretty cool to see him coaching guys at such a high level. He must have some really great advice and coaching ability, you know, given his history of his career.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he made it all the way to the top. He's been through a lot. I mean, he was in MMA during, as many people call it, the golden age of MMA.
Right.
And he has so much experience. He's trained with literally everyone, and he's seen almost everything. So he prepares us really well for these fights, mentally, physically, and just his focus is making us better men, you know.
Right, as it should be. You know, the true Bushido code, he talked about the golden age. He certainly is from that age. We're definitely in the era of trash talk these days, but
yeah.
What's your take on that, man? Given that your mentor is one of the guys from that Bushido era, that Bushido Code era, what's your take on the era that we're in of trash talk? Everybody feels that they need to be a WWE promoter to get big fights now.
Personally, I don't really like it at all. Myself as a competitor, I've been in athletics my whole life, and it's always about being a good sportsman, being a good sport, and just fighting hard and letting your actions speak for you. You can say a few things here and there. If somebody's has something to say, but at the end of the day, your words aren't going to save you.
Right. Well, and I agree with you, man. I understand the side of it that's promotion, and as much as I
get it. Like you said, I get it.
Right.
But it's kind of ridiculous.
Right. Well, I'll tell you, man. So much of it I find entertaining, a lot of this trash talk, but at the same time, I do truly miss those days where it was, I'm going to kick this guy's ass, he's going to try to come and kick my ass, and afterwards we're going to hug it out and have a ton of respect for each other.
Absolutely.
So that being said, man, any news on when we can expect to see you back in action? These hardcore fans are very hyped to see what you can do next, my man.
Oh man, I'm really excited to show out for everybody again. I'm thinking either May or June. I tried to get on a card in Utica, but it didn't work out. So I'm still working to get that fight. I'd like to fight, Volante, maybe Cannoneer, and get in the top 15, man. That's what I'm looking at right now. But my main focus is just becoming an absolute beast that can't be stopped.
So what was their lack of opponent for Utica?
Yeah, well, we were looking at Volante, but then LV came out, so that kind of put the brakes on that. So we'll see.
Right. Well, you're talking about bumping into the top 15. Light heavyweight's traditionally a stacked division, plenty of talent to choose from. So it sounds like you've got your eyes on Volante or Cannoneer. Those are the two guys that makes the most sense to you at this point.
Yes, for me right now, currently.
Okay, cool. So, real quick, man, for all the fans that aren't familiar with you yet, give us a quick rundown of your background as a martial artist, how you got into MMA, and what drives you as an athlete.
All right. So I got into MMA because I didn't get in the NFL. My background as an MMA fighter is I wrestled in high school, and I was very good at it. CIF champion over here in California. My jiu-jitsu's like getting better every day. I'm working with Joe Stevenson, he's one of the best in it. My striking and stand-up, before I started training MMA, I didn't have any formal training or anything in stand-up MMA. But from football, I was able to, really have control of my body and understand body mechanics. So I transferred that straight into MMA, and it's going well, man.
To say the least. Say the least, man. So I guess it sounds to me like your story is one of these examples of athletes, maybe not so much a martial artist. Obviously you have the wrestling background, but you're one of these prime athletes that decided to get into this sport, and as you said, it's clearly shown so far.
Absolutely. I believe I'm the next coming of athletes, guys that can play other sports, guys that were stars in other sports and played football and baseball and all that, but they decided to go to MMA, and I think that's the next wave of athletes coming to the UFC.
Right. Absolutely. We've seen the era of hardcore fighters, basement style fighters, and we've seen that transition to guys that were specialized. Then we've seen people that train everything from a young age that have the full package, and now you are absolutely correct. We're starting to see the emergence of top-level athletes get into this sport, so very cool stuff. But, aside from Joe Daddy Stevenson, who do you admire or look up to in MMA?
See, now this is a tough question because I admire and respect everybody that gets in the cage. So, like, for me, I take a little bit from everybody I see. If I see something I like, I'm gonna try to take it. But I really admire Max Holloway. I do. When we were on the Detroit card, he was, you know, really humble, really charismatic, and a really nice guy. And he cared, you know, about other people that were in the room with him. Like, we were all training, like, getting ready for our fights, cutting weight and stuff, and he was just being really humble and awesome. And then he has the warrior spirit, you know, something that's what it's all about. It's about going out there and scrapping, you know, putting it all on the line, and not, you know, not always looking for the passive least resistance, but going out there and putting on a show for the fans and having fun at the same time. Like, that's my whole, like, that's everything for me, is just going out there and having fun and putting on a show, man. Like, I'm a showman. I've played football and everything, and I love the crowd, man. The mob, as you call it, as I call it, the mob.
So you clearly feed off of that energy quite a bit.
Oh yeah, it's freaking pure electricity, man.
Well, I got to tell you, that's a great answer coming up with Max Holloway. I think that a lot of the old school fans and analysts and people that have followed this sport, he's a guy that we're all looking at and really, really appreciate at this point in time. So I would agree with you 100% there. But did you think that you'd be one of the most talked about prospects in the UFC over this past year? You know, that must feel pretty cool, man. You know, people see so much potential in you right now.
Oh, it's so cool, man. It's almost surreal. Like, I was unknown, like completely unknown. But I've always been here working, man, just working and working and working. And I always knew, like, when my time comes, I want to be ready. You know, I want people to not really have, like, oh, well, this or that, or there's a hole here, or the weakness here. I want it to be complete when I came onto the scene, so people could get behind me and you know, not be like, oh, well, he's good striking, but his wrestling sucks, or whatever. So, so for me, it was about being complete before I made the jump here and not trying to rush it. I'm not trying to rush it. You know, I took my time in my amateur career. I've kind of done things at my own pace based on how my progression is going, not how the promoters think I should fight. You should fight, you know?
Dude, you're basically answering my next question here for me. I got to say that you're already talking like a veteran of the sport, and clearly, you know, working with Joe Daddy has rubbed off on you in the right way. You know, I was going to say, we've seen so many athletes with a lot of hype behind them. They crash and burn. You know, most of the time the UFC or the coaches, they're rushing them into these high-level fights. You know, that being said, you are remaining patient when it comes to climbing the ranks. And, you know, do you feel like you're right now ready to fight these top 10 guys, or do you think you need some more time to ease into that?
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe like a fight or two more. I don't have a ton of experience in the octagon. You know, my fights have been pretty quick.
All right.
So, I mean, that cage experience it's everything. I'm hoping my next opponent pushes me, you know, to the second, third round. And we're just scrapping it out, you know. And then we'll go from there. It really depends on how my next, like, however my fight goes. Then I'll make my decision on my next move from there.
Right.
Because you don't know how you're gonna feel, or you know, if you had a hole here or anything like that until after the fight. So
absolutely,
I want to see how it goes.
Absolutely.
But when the time comes, there will be a time for everyone.
Well, for sure, man. And, you know, like you were talking about before, you've gone from relatively unknown to this hyped-up prospect. And I talk about it with fighters all the time. Sometimes a guy just hasn't arrived until he's arrived, and clearly you're getting there, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a process. It's like I said after my last fight, you know, I want to be in the UFC, you know, for many years, you know, 5-7 years. I don't want to just come in, try to fight all kinds of fights, and then fizzle out. You know, what's that going to do good? That's not going to do anybody any good.
Absolutely.
So I want to do it, you know, at my pace, fight the right fights. And then there will be a time where every fight's the right fight, you know. But right now I'm still relatively young, and I would like 1, maybe 2 more, and then start, you know, making a run at the title.
I got to tell you, man, you're wise beyond your years in MMA. That is for damn sure. I think a lot of people could take some notes from you, brother, for real.
Appreciate that, man.
Hey, not a problem. My pleasure. So, who impresses you most in the division? Who would you be most excited to fight? And you know, obviously, without looking past anybody or getting too far ahead of yourself, who impresses you most, and who would you be most excited to fight stylistically?
So, I've always looked up to this fighter. I should have told you before, but Gustafsson is somebody I've always looked up to. His striking is phenomenal, man. I would really like to. I feel like he's a legend, and I'd like to get in there with him one day and fight a legend. You know, how often do you get to fight a legend in your mind? And that would be cool. I'm really impressed by him and his movement and everything he's doing.
Yeah, he's one of the underappreciated guys in the UFC.
Oh, absolutely. It's because he's unassuming. His look is unassuming. So people like, oh, it's Gus. But he's freaking one punch away from beating Jones and Cormier.
Yep, without a doubt, man. And Lord knows those uppercuts are vicious.
Sure, those are vicious uppercuts. But, yeah, I mean, I think that would be really cool. We're both really tall and lanky. And we have pretty good striking, and I think that would be a really fun fight.
I would agree with you, man. Hopefully that one comes to fruition in the future, and maybe that could be your number one contender fight. Yeah, or for the title, even better. That would be even better, man. So what do you think you bring to the table that the rest of the division isn't ready for?
My athleticism, and just I have sneaky power people don't realize, but my athleticism is something that, I mean, lightweights have trouble dealing with. I mean, I move like a lightweight and I fight with the power of a light heavyweight. So that's something that's new to the division. I'm younger, but I'm very athletic. I'm pretty smart when I fight. I'm an intellectual fighter. I'm not just all raw emotion. So I think I bring that to the division.
So, you know, given that you're only 8 fights into your pro career, I'm sure you have a long amateur career as well. But, you know, when you talk about being able to hold back that emotion, I mean, how do you find that happy balance between having the right amount of aggression and the right amount of control when you get in there?
That's kind of a lifelong thing, you know. Competing my whole life, it's been like figuring yourself out, figuring out how you perform best. Because nobody could tell you, you know, this is exactly what to do. They could try, oh, exactly do this, but it's not you. Only you can figure out you. And that's something I've always focused on is, you know, how does this feel? You know, how being really in tune with my body and my emotion, and I could feel the adrenaline rushes coming on. You could feel it. And once you control it and understand yourself and how your heart reacts to certain things and what's going on, you could time those aggressions for finishes.
You make a great point there. I think that we see too much of guys not embracing who they are and then taking on martial arts and kind of adapting it, making it their own. We see a lot of guys trying to be stringent to technique, and while technique is very, very important, at the same time you need to make things your own, put your own flavor on it, and that's what makes you an individual in the sport, right?
Mm-hmm. And that's what makes it fun. Because if you're trying to just do what everybody else is trying to do, you're trying to, you know, copy this, copy that. It's not fun because you're not. It's not you. It's not your flow. It's not your rhythm. It's somebody else's.
Absolutely, man. So listen, changing gears here for a moment, I wanted to get your thoughts on the John Jones situation. Do you think the California State Athletic Commission made the right call with him? Do you think all this controversy tarnishes his legacy as the greatest of all time?
That hearing, I felt like they were. I guess they were pretty fair based on his past.
Right.
It's kind of tough because of his past. Like, if he didn't have that past, then it would have just been a slap on the wrist, kind of. You know, maybe 6 months because he was unaware. And he says he was unaware. But when you have a past like that, it makes it really hard to say it was an accident. You know, it makes it really hard for people to like give you a break.
I agree with you, man. I agree with you.
And as far as his legacy, I mean, he's a great fighter no matter what. Like, no matter how you slice it. But the fact that, you know, maybe he was on some shit. You know, excuse my language, but maybe he was on some.
You can swear.
That might tarnish his legacy a little bit. I mean, if he gets 4 years from USADA on this, then that's definitely tarnishing his legacy. Like,
right.
It's super hard to come back from.
Absolutely, and I think one of the big problems is, like you said, it's the history, and for me, it's not the history.
Like I feel like we all fell in love with John Jones again. You know,
right?
When he came back, it was like, all right, John's back. Cool.
Well, for me, it was a little different because for me, I could, you know, given his history, and then he was always playing the super, you know, good guy babyface role, and you know everybody could see, everybody could see right through it. You know what I mean? So for me, it was like, oh, come on, John, just, you know, what I liked about when he came back is he was being a heel. And, you know, the shit he's saying to DC and all that, I was like, okay, I can get behind this. He's actually being
himself finally.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. So, speaking of DC, what do you make of the fight with Stipe? Do you think Cormier's got what it takes to be able to be a 2-division champ?
Man, I don't know against Stipe. I don't think so. Not against Stipe. Stipe is the baddest man on the planet. He's just, I don't know. I think he's too big and too long and too technical for Cormier.
Yeah, and given his history in other athletics, I'm sure you have a lot of respect for what he's been able to do as well.
Oh, absolutely. True. I mean, I have huge respect for everybody, like I said.
Right.
But when it comes to this, Stipe is on one right now. He's just on one.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, man. So listen,
like sometimes in life you're on one. Like right now I'm on one.
Right.
So just roll with it, and I feel like he's embraced it and he's rolling with it. So.
And it's refreshing to finally see him get the kind of promotional push that he deserves. You know, they got a gold mine there with Stipe, and it's nice to finally see those Modelo commercials and all that stuff. Very happy for him.
Oh, me too. It's super awesome. I mean, he literally had to like do extra just to get stuff he should have got from the beginning. But hey,
well, when you see a situation like that, you know, applying it to your own career, obviously talking with you, you're a very respectable guy. We've talked about the Bushido Code, that kind of era, the trash talk era we're in now. You know, do you think that you have a plan looking forward on how to be able to promote yourself, make that big money, but also stay true to who you are as a martial artist?
I do. I think I do. Just be me. I'm pretty charismatic when I'm around people and when I talk to people. But my thing is kind of like bring back, you know, good, wholesome athletes that kids could actually look up to. You know, that's kind of where I'm at right now.
It's refreshing to hear, man, for sure.
Like family, you know, I don't have any kids. You know, I'm not married. So I'm just focusing on my career, but I'm also focusing on, you know, taking care of being a good person and helping people with problems or anything they got going on that can be fixed through training. And it's just, there's so much bad in the world. We need more good.
Damn straight, man. I know I loved it to hear Rose Namajunas, you know, just be a good person, man. That was really cool. Like I think we need a lot more of that. And again, I do greatly appreciate all the trash talk as well when it's funny. I mean, even when you take it too far.
Sometimes there will be fights where I'm trash talk. Like we're gonna, right. I'm gonna come across an opponent who's disrespectful, talking crap, and I'm not just gonna be like, oh yeah, man, yeah, you're right. You know, like, yeah, sure, obviously, but. I mean, I have 4 brothers, so it gets pretty crazy here my whole life. So.
Where are you? Are you youngest, middle, oldest?
I'm in the middle. I'm second to last.
Oh, you had it tough.
Oh yeah.
All your brothers are athletes?
I just kept my mouth shut and just was like, all right, and just kept grinding.
Are all your brothers athletes as well?
Yeah, my oldest brother is fighting next week in London. Alex.
Oh, Jesus, yeah, holy crap, man. I didn't even put that together, dude. Wow.
Crazy, right?
Wow. How cool would that be for you to both be on the same card?
Oh, that'd be awesome. That'd be really cool.
Wow, man, I didn't even think of that, dude. Wow, tremendous. Well, that's
That's
something.
that's how I started MMA, because he owns a gym over here as well. So when I got out of football, I just started training with him, and I didn't start working with Joe until March of last year.
Wow. Man, so not only is this a family affair, but this is wow. I would honestly, man, I would love to see you guys both fight on the same card. That would be a huge thing. I don't think brothers, I could be mistaken. Maybe the Pettis brothers have both fought on the same card, but
I think they have one time.
yeah. That'd be really cool to see that done again, man. I hope that comes in the future for you. But listen, brother, you've been more than generous with your time. I greatly appreciate it. Just a couple more just a couple more questions here for you.
All right.
How many times would you like to compete this year, and how soon are you hoping to have a fight contract signed for maybe June, like you were saying, May or June?
I'd like to fight 3 times this year. And I'd like to sign that contract yesterday. If I could.
Right.
I'm working with the UFC PI, implementing a weight strength conditioning program for the first time in my career, which is cool. Getting a lot stronger, really fast.
Wow, you've never had a strength and conditioning program?
No, not since I've been in MMA.
Wow.
In college and everything, I was lifting almost every day for football, but when I got into MMA, I wanted to focus on the technique because it's the most important thing.
That's a smart move.
I completely immersed myself in the technique, and I would do a little bit of strength conditioning, like to make it through the fights, obviously to have the conditioning for the fight, but not really like real focused. And now it's every other day. Exact number of reps, exact everything.
Right. Well, I got to say, man, I think that lends itself to the level of athlete that you are, knowing that you haven't had a strength and conditioning program until now. I'm very interested to see what you look like with the strength and conditioning program. I think that the rest of the division should be pretty worried about that.
My trainer over here was saying, dude, they're gonna test you like all the time now. You're getting big. Like, I was like, it's all good, man. It's all good.
That's awesome, man. Clean athlete, awesome guy.
Yeah,
I gotta say,
forever.
Yeah, man. I gotta say, just speaking with you for the first time here, very refreshing, and I certainly look forward to what the future has in store for you. But speaking of the future, how do you visualize this UFC career? What do you see? Is it realistic to assume that you'd be fighting for the belt sometime in 2019?
Yes, that is realistic. I think mid 2019, I should be ready for a title fight, if everything goes according to plan, of course. But I'm improving every day. I'm getting better every day. Bigger, faster, stronger, smarter. Techniques are just flowing, and I'm excited to show the world, man. It's like you practice and practice and practice and practice, and there's no game.
Right.
So
right.
And I'm ready to get in there.
Especially for an athlete that's used to competing all the time, that must be very frustrating for you.
It is, but it's a process, and I understand it, and it is what it is.
Right. Well, I got to tell you, man, like I said, you're wise beyond your years. Really refreshing to hear the type of demeanor you have as an athlete. I'm very excited to see you get back in there, and it's been an awesome conversation, man. I can't thank you enough. In conclusion, tell all the fans out there why they need to join the team now and keep their eyes on the Devastator going forward.
Yeah, everybody. Join up, man. Team Devastator. Follow me on Instagram at DomReyes24. This is the best time to get in. It's like a pyramid scheme. You get in early, you reap the rewards later. So trust me, man. I'm working just as hard as all of you at work, busting your asses. I know what that's like. I worked construction before this. So blue chip, hardworking American. Let's do this.
Hell yeah, man. I got to say, you're definitely my favorite prospect now. Awesome stuff, man. Great conversation. Can't thank you enough. Hopefully we can catch up again when a fight gets signed, talk about the matchup, and I hope you have a wonderful evening, man. Any shout-outs you'd like to get in before we let you go?
Oh, yeah. Shout out Cobra Kai, my team over there, the Bullet Hole in Victorville with Craig Buchanan, Nutrition Edge in Victorville, World Gym, and Stein Chiropractic. Those are my people. And obviously my family, my parents. Love you guys. And that's all.
All right, cool, man. Again, greatly appreciate it. Awesome awesome convo, man. I can't say it enough. This is one of my favorite that I've done in a long time. So, my pleasure. Hope we can catch up again soon. Have a wonderful evening, my man. And peace out, brother.
Thanks out, man. Appreciate you so much.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Anytime you want to just get on and chat, you feel free to reach out.
All right, perfect. I'll let Rick know next time.
All right, cool. Thanks, bud.
All right, thank you. Bye.
Later. Hope you guys enjoy the conversation with Dom. Like I said, he's got a veteran mentality, incredible work ethic, athleticism, much more he brings to the table as well. Very refreshing to hear a guy with this kind of mental game this young in his career. Got a great team behind him as well, especially one of the OGs in MMA, Joe Daddy Stevenson. Like I said, he's definitely one to watch, folks. But let's waste no more time. Coming up next on BJPenn.com Radio, the fighter's voice, the next in line for a chance at women's bantamweight gold, an underdog who has a proven record of rising to the occasion, good friend of the show, one of my favorite people to speak with, Raquel Pennington. All right, Penn Nation, please welcome back to the show the number 2 ranked women's bantamweight in the UFC, the next challenger for Amanda Nunes title. Of course, I'm talking about Rocky herself, Raquel Pennington. What's going on, Rocky? How is life in Colorado today?
It's pretty good. It's actually a beautiful day and finished up a solid morning training session, so now just doing some relaxing.
Very good. Now, I know you have you've been doing a lot of media today. I'm sure you've got plenty of training to do after this, but before we jump into it, I just wanted to get an update on the UFC's cutest couple. Any idea on when you guys are going to be tying the knot?
We've been talking a lot about September 15th. We both want a fall wedding, and of course up in the mountains, so when the trees are changing and stuff like that, all the leaf colors. But, you know, I mean, it's just been kind of hectic. We're hoping for that day, and we've been doing little things in between our schedules that we can't do and trying to get them done. Now that Tisha has some more downtime, hopefully she can get a little bit more done than me. But, you know, I mean, it was her with her fight camp, and now I'm going into my fight camp, and then we have a couple trips planned afterwards, and we have some other stuff for friends' weddings and different things. And then 10 days before we're thinking about tying the knot is actually my dirty 30. So it's just like, it's a little crazy. We'll see what actually happens.
Oh, a lot of moving pieces, a lot of things to juggle, but hopefully September 15th.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Well, again, UFC's cutest couple in my opinion. But
you.
Listen, the big news dropped last week. You'll finally be challenging for the title. I know it was rumored that the fight was in the works, but there was some uncertainty. When did you get the news, and how excited are you to finally get that opportunity that you've been striving for all these years?
Well, you know, I mean, we were set up to fight originally in December, and then I obviously had that injury happening. So I had to pull from that fight, which was really hard. And then I told UFC after I talked to the doctors and we went through my whole injury and stuff, and the doctors kind of gave me a time frame. And then, of course, listening to my own body, I told them that May would work. Amanda said that she wanted to fight before May, but obviously she's had a long time off herself. So it kind of just worked out. They did offer me earlier in March, but it was just physically impossible. My body's done a little bit of crazy things. I put on some stress weight. I've obviously had these injuries, and so I physically that physically was impossible, and I told him no. So May was a good time frame for me. It's been in the talks for a while. We were talking about it throughout Tisha's entire camp, pretty much, and trying to figure things out, and then we were negotiating contracts and stuff like that. And so it was, you know, for me, it was the next thing that's meant to happen, and I feel like I've definitely deserved this opportunity. So it was just all about the paperwork, and then there was that little hiccup that happened when freaking Cyborg fought, and it became a little frustrating because then there was a little question mark thrown out there, but I feel like it was kind of a thing where common sense prevailed, and it all worked out.
Absolutely, common sense for sure. Now, you know, speaking of the Cyborg fight, I know you've been campaigning for this title bout. Obviously, injuries and all of those things aside, there was talk about Amanda fighting Cyborg next. What was the word on your end? I would imagine that you were doing everything in your power to make this fight happen and not have her fight Cyborg next.
You know, like I said, I mean, we were talking about this. We were going through everything. The negotiations were happening, so the last thing to do was sign the paper. And before Cyborg even happened, I was supposed to have my contract in hand to be able to sign, but I didn't end up getting it. And then when Cyborg fought, and then that question mark went up with Dana's comment, a little frustration went out there. So I actually got frustrated, and I reached out to a million people in the UFC and was asking them what the heck was going on, because to me it just wasn't fair. And, you know, I know it's something that doesn't always go the fighter's way, or I'm not the only athlete that things have been thrown up into question or fights have actually been taken away from fighters. So it was kind of one of those things where I did get really frustrated for a second, and then I just told Tisha and I told my family, I was like, you know what, like, whatever's meant to happen is going to happen regardless, one way or another. I will eventually fight for this belt. If I have to take another detour, it's going to be a bunch of bullshit, but I'm going to continue to go with the flow. I'm the type of person that goes with the flow, and I put my best foot forward. There's some things that are just not in your control. But after reaching out to everybody, they kind of said it was news to them, and I think like 2 days after Cyborg fought, I ended up getting the contract. So,
well, very good. So it sounds like fate prevailed, and obviously your due diligence that didn't hurt at all in regards to finally getting this fight signed.
For sure.
Now, you had talked about the sport moving towards more entertainment, and, you know, I have to agree with you. While I enjoy a lot of this trash talk stuff, it bothers me that everyone is trying to do it, and I always talk about it on this show. I miss the old days, the Bushido Code, the respect between athletes. Were you at all concerned that this fight might not happen based on, you know, the marketing aspect of all of it?
Yeah, a little bit. You know, I mean, obviously, for one, I don't understand, you know, I mean, do I love the fact of what's happening for women's MMA? Yes, I love the fact that it's expanding, more divisions are being added and everything. That's great, especially for females who weight cutting is a dangerous thing, especially for the female body. It throws our hormones completely off and doing different things and whatnot. So the fact that they are expanding it and able to bring in more athletes, like, I think that is phenomenal. But right now, it's just like the 145 division really makes no sense to me. Like, you have Cyborg, who is the #1 athlete in that division, and then it seems like they just keep taking 130 fighters. Like, where's all the 140 fighters? Bring in natural 140 fighters. And granted, I mean, all of us, including myself, 140 or 130 fighters, I think that we're all willing to step up to the plate at some point. Like, she's just another female. But the fact is right now, why do you keep dipping into the 135 division? And that's something that's kind of frustrating for me. So when that whole thing was happening, and it was just like this super fight and the money and Cyborg and Amanda, who's the champion, and two champions battle each other, like, it's just, for me, it's just more entertainment, and it's just bullshit. Like, what happened to, okay, like the 135 division right now? I've busted my ass all these years, and I feel like I've deserved this opportunity. And it's a fight that actually makes sense, but then because there's more money and there's more entertainment, that one's going to happen. Like, where's the fairness in all this? Where's the other people deserve to be marketed and build up their brand and do different things too? And I'm not just speaking for myself, but all the other athletes who are under the champions. That's what we do every single day. We're grinding every single day for those opportunities. But because you have Cyborg with a name, or Amanda with a name, or it just keeps going on with the names, right. It's like they keep being thrown out there.
Absolutely, and it's even more so frustrating, you know, going along with what you're talking about. Why have a ranking system if we're not going to use it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so I completely
Everybody,
understand
like,
that.
gets so excited off these rankings, or they'll say different things or whatever, and, like, to me, the rankings do not matter.
Yeah, I agree with you, and it's a shame. You know, why even have them? Why even put that news out there? Oh, you're now #2, #3, whatever the case is. But at the end of the day, unfortunately, the way the sport has been going, it seems to be all about the money fights. But regardless of that, I'm very happy that this fight got made. However, talking about the marketing, you know, with the injury setback that you've talked about in depth, did you think that the time away from the sport could play a part in the marketing for this fight as well?
You know, I really don't think so. I think I have a badass story, actually, returning back to everything. This last 18 months off was not an easy 18 months off. Right. There's been a lot of shit that has happened, and a lot of things that, you know, I mean, you want to talk about adversity, you want to talk about a bunch of different things occurring that I had to overcome and be able to have this opportunity and then step back up to, and then go out and perform my best. Like, if you're into the story behind athletes and you're into more than just the super fights and everything else, like, for me, I think it's a pretty cool thing to come back to, in my honest opinion.
Yeah, I would agree with you, and I think that this sport is all about characters and the individuality of all of you, And to be honest with you, I mean, talking about the injury and coming back from all this, semi-reminiscent of like a Vinny Pazienza or something like that. So there is a really cool story there if they decide to market it that way. But in regards to ring rust, I know you've always been active, always training, and now even coaching and cornering Tisha. I'd imagine you don't expect that to be an issue at all.
No, I mean, don't get me wrong, ring rust can be a real thing and whatnot, and it's different when you're performing in the gym as opposed to when you're under the big lights. But I also think it comes to something that's very mental and also physical. Even though I've taken these 8 months off because I had to, in certain places I really haven't taken the 8 months off, or 18 months off, sorry. I mean, like you said, I've been coaching Tisha, I've been coaching other athletes because I've been in the gym constantly every day, whether it was mentally or physically. When I had my injuries and I broke my leg, I was still in the gym pushing with my upper body. Like, I'm such an ambitious person and driven that nothing's going to stop me. And then being able to have this time off, I learned so much about myself as an individual and as an athlete. And that alone, I feel like, is dangerous. Not to mention, okay, when I'm not constantly having to train and do things, I had all this time in the world to actually go to sports psychology and do things. So there I am mentally preparing. I mean, this sport is a lot of mental. A lot of people may think it's physical and everything, but it comes down to your mental part. And when you have that strong, I think the physical it's like riding a bike. Like, of course, the endurance, everything else has to be built back up, in which we've been doing. And it's not like, okay, I got offered the fight, all of a sudden I signed the contract, and now I got up off the couch and I started training. Like, I've been training. So
yeah, well, you talk about it there, sports psychology, other things. I'd imagine you learned a lot about yourself in regards to perseverance, but can you touch on that a little bit? What exactly did you learn about yourself through this time off and, having to go through all of this and get back to the place where you wanted to be?
There's just a lot of things throughout time, and throughout you can really get mixed up in the sport, especially when it comes to media and then being an athlete. And sometimes, for me, it was just I've gotten to the point where I've gotten, because I've always had such a burning passion for it. I was always having fun. I was always doing things. And when I wasn't having fun, when I was it turned into like that job filling and different things, like, that's when I performed at my worst. That's when I was just doing stuff I didn't really care. I wasn't taking care of my body the right way. There was just so much coming into play with it. But to actually have this time off and to actually slow down, I just learned so much about my body in general. I learned so much about my mind and what my mind actually needs, and the different little triggers that I could have, as opposed to, let's say we're in the gym and, it could be the most random things. It could be different things for people, but it's just like, okay, we're going to spar as opposed to we're going to fight. It may trigger my body different. It may trigger my emotions different. So just really having the time to actually break myself down with that, having the time to get my flexibility back, having the time to, just the recovery, or actually pushing myself to the limits without having to worry about overtraining because there was no purpose right there at the moment. Like, I've been able to really test myself in different aspects, and then, just now being able to put it all together, or having to be that coach and constantly doing something repetitive or drilling it over and over in my head so that way I could perform it at my best to teach Tisha or teach Sharon or show the other athletes around me, or just being able to have this opportunity to, bounce around and see other athletes interact with different people and learn different things. Like, there's just so much to where it was just like, I feel like I really found a different passion within me. I found a different flame. And because I was having to take so much time off and I wasn't allowed to go out and do what I absolutely love, I never realized I had a structured life. But in a weird way, I do have structure with the way that I train and with the way that I fight and the way that my day is planned out. And I always just seen myself as this adventurous, spontaneous person. But there is structure. So now just being able to realize all these different things, like, there's a new hunger and a new motivation behind me that I don't feel like anything could get in the way of.
Well, that's very cool to hear. I know, talking with fighters over the years, so many people have spoke about not having fun, and then when you're having fun again and the passion reignites, that's when you have your best performances. That's when things really start to come together and click for you. So it's very cool to hear that. But, speaking of cornering and coaching, fighters always talk about how that helps them evolve their own game. Has that been the case for you, coaching and cornering Tisha as well?
Yeah, it really does, because when you're a coach and when you're cornering, like, you're living in the sport. You're watching it from the outside perspective. You can slow things down. You can see things from a different perspective. And then the fact that you're going to teach a technique or you're going to show them, you're constantly drilling it. Like, there's so much repetitive stuff right there that it's just like it's being built into you. It's just so me doing that over this time frame, and not just with Tisha but with other athletes and stuff, I mean, I've had that opportunity to where mentally I wasn't taking any time off. Physically, I may have had to take some time off, but mentally I was still doing something. I was constantly visualizing. I could see things with being on the outside corner in Tisha. I could see exactly what I would do, and I would show her, or I would show her a way that would work for her. So it's like my brain was constantly going, and it was just making, I feel like I have a very high IQ for fighting, and it was driving that even more.
So it sounds like this was kind of a blessing in disguise and an opportunity for you to hit the reset button and, really put everything together for yourself, both in and outside of training.
Yeah, I really think so. As frustrating as it has been at its points, like, I told my mom that we were having a conversation one day, and I just told her, I was like, it was a blessing in disguise. Like, I feel like this kind of helped me to, like you said, reset and just find that drive again. And it's just, for me, it's fun again. It's motivating. It's exciting. Like, I'm just ready.
Awesome. Real quick, I've only got a few more questions here for you. You're more than generous with your time. But real quick, you mentioned your mother there. She going to be cutting weight with you for this fight as well?
Of course. That is, I don't know how that became it, but that's her number one duty. And I think the coaches love it because they can get a break from something and they can go do whatever they're going to do. And my mom's got full control.
Right. They don't have to sit in the sauna and go through all that agony.
Yeah, and they don't got to hear the angry emotions going on when I get frustrated.
So, listen, I know you're very familiar with Amanda outside of the cage, and of course Tisha has trained with her in the past. That being said, give us your thoughts on the matchup stylistically, and what kind of problems do you think you present to Amanda that she maybe hasn't faced yet?
I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be an awesome fight. I think it's definitely going to be one of the fights that it's going to come down to who wants it more. I think me and Amanda match up very well. And like you said, I mean, we are friends outside of this, so it's kind of one of those things where it's business on the inside. It was the same thing with me and Misha. Amanda, she has phenomenal stand-up. She's done everything that she's needed to become champion and to hold her position there. So she has what I want, and she's obviously going to try to keep what she has, but it's just going to come down to who wants it more, who's going to grind harder, who's going to do those things. And, like I said, all this time off mentally, I don't feel like anything can get in my way with that. It's not a fight that's going to be easy by far. And there's nowhere in there underestimating Amanda. But the fact is like, I know who I am. I know who I am as a person, as an athlete, and just I know what I want. And I feel like I have the skills in all different aspects to be able to go out there and do what I need to do. And, Amanda's good on her feet. Amanda, she has her wrestling, and then she's good on the ground. But a lot of people, they just sat here and they categorized me as this brawler for years now. And a lot of people I don't feel like have actually seen my entire game. I can't just pinpoint when people ask me, hey, what are you great at? Like, I feel like I'm a very well-rounded fighter. And at the end of the day, I feel like I'm going to bring a lot to Amanda, whether it's in wrestling, whether it's in grappling, whether it's in jiu-jitsu, or it's in stand-up. So it's just about focusing on me as what I can control and doing those things. And I feel like that alone will shine.
It's interesting you say, everybody thinks of you as a brawler. Obviously, you've got a ton of skills. We've seen them displayed. I'm sure you haven't even really scratched the surface. But one thing that was obvious for me, aside from your skills, is the toughness. People have said that Amanda comes on very strong in the beginning, tends to fade in the later rounds. Do you think that your ability to maybe weather that early storm could play a big factor in this fight?
Oh, for sure. I think so. I mean, I don't know where I got it from. I don't know where I got the toughness. I don't know if it was just being a tomboy growing up with all my guy cousins and we were constantly fighting because we wouldn't argue, we would fist fight. I don't know if it was just the toughness all these years, but I do. I go out there and, I have yet to find somebody who actually, really challenges that, really, puts an impact that's like, oh, shit, I'm in danger. There hasn't been anything for that for me yet. And not saying that it can't happen, because anything can happen. It's a fight. But, I feel like me training in high altitude, I have that advantage when it comes to cardio. I feel like just, my endurance and everything that plays into that, the fact that I can go out there and weather storms, and it's, I just have to wear her down. Like I said, I got to push the pace. I got to do things and control what I can control. And I feel like that alone can make or break this situation.
Absolutely, absolutely. Interestingly enough, I just had a friend come back who was living in Colorado Springs for a few months, and, being from Rhode Island, we're right at sea level, and she was like, man, moving out there, you really don't understand it until you actually physically experience the high altitude and how much of a difference it makes.
It's huge.
Absolutely. But, speaking of which, places that, you're training and where this fight is going to take place is in Rio de Janeiro. We all know how hostile that crowd can be towards outsiders. Was there any hesitation for you to take this fight in her home country? And are you even concerned at all about the vibe that the crowd might be throwing at you?
It's one of those things. I've been an underdog my entire career. It's not something that phases me. You can boo me, you can say things, you can do whatever. But you know what? I am who I am, and I'm not going to be the type of athlete to go out and show my ass to get a different type of crowd. I'm not going to be the one to sit there and negotiate all my fights and be like, you know what, be picky and everything else. Like, throw the challenges my way, do things, but let me be my own person. And if I lay quiet behind the scenes and do me, like, that's what makes me happy. And I've always, from the get-go, I've taken fights, and I think I've only fought in my home crowd once, and it was weird. I didn't like it. It was different. I can't even explain it. It was just different. It was cool having my family and friends and everybody you could possibly think of. Like, the entire crowd was for me. But at the same token, I have a very strong support system, whether they're with me at every single fight. But I am lucky to where I do have my close family who does travel with me. I do have my close friends who do travel with me. And I have a great coaching staff to where that's all I need, because I know I have love and support from everywhere else, whether they're right next to me. And the crowds, like I said, at the beginning of my career, I've fought in some crazy places. I've gone to places where I've constantly been booed. I had a Crown Royal bottle thrown at me before.
What?
And it's been crazy. Like, I've had stuff, and it's just like, to me, like, whatever makes you feel better, because at the end of the day, like, that's not going to change what happens in the octagon. It's not going to change the skills that I have in my toolbox. It's not going to change anything in there, because as soon as that cage door closes, it's like, for me, it's just me, my opponent, the bright lights, and I can hear my coaches. That's it. Like, I can zone out, and then I can go into what I need to do. So I don't care where the boos come from. I don't care what's going to happen with that. I don't care who bets against me. I don't care if I'm the biggest underdog in the world. And it's the same thing when I fought Holly Holm. Everybody thought I was going to get my freaking teeth knocked out. I was going to end up in the hospital. I was going to be just on this whole new page, and I think I showed something completely different. So she's another female. She's a great athlete, but I also know that I'm a great athlete, and I know what I have to bring to the table.
Well, it seems like the trend of this conversation that I'm getting here is mental fortitude, and how you're able to apply that to your life inside and outside of combat sports. But I will say, I certainly hope nobody throws a friggin' Crown Royale bottle at you. That's pretty crazy.
Hey, people get crazy.
But listen, Raquel, having worked with you since Tough and seeing all the potential you've had in the sport, it's really cool for me to finally see you in this position. It's been a long road there, but you're on the cusp of accomplishing a dream here. Did you ever have any doubts that this day would come eventually for you?
No, like I said, it's been my ultimate goal, and I'm a goal-getter. I'm very ambitious, and so I knew one day it would eventually happen. You never know how long those things are going to take, and sometimes things aren't in your control. But it's just exciting. It was something that I was talking about when I was stretching with my coaches. I remember I've been doing this sport for 11 years now, and I told my very first MMA coach, before it was even women's MMA even grew to where we're at now, I told him, I was like, one day I'm going to fight for the UFC world title. And no shit, he laughed at me, because obviously it wasn't a thing that was even in sight. And right. I was like, watch, it's going to happen. I don't know how it's going to happen, but it's going to happen. And that was a goal that I set for myself way back when, 11 years ago. And now here it is.
Awesome. I agree with you. It's one of those things, you have to set short-term goals, but the long-term goal is also very important to keep that in your sights as well. But assuming you come out of this fight unscathed, how many times would you like to compete this year? And will you try to be an active champion?
Most definitely. I've missed being in there, so I'm excited to get back in there. I've always liked competing 2 or 3 times a year. I feel like that's pretty active. Fight camps, they do add up. It takes a big toll on the body and stuff. So, like I said, I do like my recovery and everything else. I like to enjoy life on the outside, be able to travel around or go visit family in different places and stuff like that. So, for me, I definitely want to come out on the top, and I feel like that's more than possible, and that's where my mind is at right now. And so once that happens, I would like to just, 2 or 3 times a year, whatever.
Okay. All right. Again, I'm incredibly happy for you, and it's been an honor to see this journey unfold and being able to work with you. In conclusion, my friend, tell all the Rocky P fans out there what they can expect on May 12th, and how do you visualize this fight playing out?
I've never been a shit talker, and I never will be. It's not who I am. But just be ready for a very exciting fight. I feel like there's a new Rocky on display coming May 12th, and you can sit here and think that 18 months off was a long time off, and it's going to play an impact, but it has no impact. So be ready for the excitement.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to the new and improved Rocky P. Greatly appreciate the time. Always a great conversation with you. Hopefully we can catch up again when the fight draws near. Any shout-outs or plugs you'd like to get in before we let you go?
First off, thanks for having me on. It's always great talking to you guys, and thanks for the support that you guys have had all these years. And then, of course, to my family and friends who have stood beside me this whole time, my great coaching staff, the teammates who are always there, the girls up in Denver, and then my obviously Tisha, my fiance. Right. I couldn't do it without her. Better not leave her out; she'll kick my butt.
Right, gotta thank wifey.
And then just all the wonderful Rocky fans out there. I really do have some freaking awesome fans, and a lot of people. It's just I feel like the fans make us. They help our careers and everything else like that, and I'm more than grateful for it. And the same way that I inspire them, they inspire me to be better every single day. So I just want to thank them.
Well, like I said, it's all about personalities and character, and you're certainly one of the best of those in the business. Again, greatly appreciate it, Raquel. You have a wonderful evening or afternoon, and hopefully we can catch up when the fight draws near. Very much looking forward to you finally capturing that title, my friend.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
All right, have a good one.
You too.
Later. Man, I got to tell you guys, I've had the pleasure of working with Raquel for a long, long time, since Tough 18. And she is one of the coolest personalities in mixed martial arts. I'm incredibly, incredibly happy for her. I hope that she can seize the moment, capture that gold, and so much props to her for clearing more hurdles in life, striving for success, persevering, and it's just a testament to the kind of person that she is. So much love, Rocky, and big thanks for coming on the show. But let's keep it moving, guys. Closing out tonight's show, top-ranked flyweight, knockout artist. It was a pleasure to speak with this gentleman for the first time. I'm your host, Jay Kinch. This is BJPenn.com Radio, the fighter's voice. Coming up next, Chicano John Moraga. All right, Penn Nation, please welcome to the show former title challenger and top 10 flyweight in the UFC, John Moraga. What's going on, John? How is life in the MMA lab today, man?
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me. Training was good at the lab today. We got a nice little morning session done. We're looking to get some more in today.
Cool, man. Cool. Before we get into the upcoming bout, man, I just wanted to have you talk to us about the big wins of your teammates at UFC 222.
Yeah, they were exciting to watch, and we've been knowing how good they were for a while, so it was good to see them get in there and get some wins.
So for you, it was more or less like these people had all the potential, and it was just another example of how good that team is.
Yeah, man. Sean, I really used him a lot for my camp, and he's been here, helping. We just got a team full of killers, really, and everyone's just stepping up for everyone. I get different partners every camp, and it's just we got such a stacked team to help everyone out and also to get better.
Absolutely, man. I know that the lab has always been a great team, and you guys definitely have some very underappreciated coaching staff. But I'd imagine seeing your teammates shine like that must give you a lot of added motivation for your next fight.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely. I mean, you get happy when your teammates win, and you know, same thing when they lose. You know, you feel that too. So it's a close knit family we have, and it was good. Good night.
Now, it was announced a few weeks ago that you'd be fighting Wilson Hayes at UFC on Fox 29 in Glendale, Arizona. How happy are you with this matchup, man?
You know, it's what it is. You know, I'm cool with. I got a lot of friends out of Alliance where he trains, and you know, he would be my first choice. But you know, it's business, so we're gonna just go in there and get it done on home turf.
So, you know, aside from the home turf thing, it sounds like maybe there's a little history and friendship with you that you weren't exactly excited to take this fight with him.
Yeah, I've trained. I haven't trained too much with Wilson, but you know, when I was able to train out there, you know, he was out there helping out Dom for his camps. I was over there at a couple camps, and a few times I've trained out there. Yeah, he was there, and we've trained together, and you know, we're cordial friends, I guess you could say. And but business, you know, that's they were actually offering me him for a couple fights previous to this. I wasn't ready, and I really didn't want to fight him at the time. You know, not that I didn't want to, but whatever. You know, we're cool, so I was trying to stay away from it. But they offered it to me for Phoenix, and I couldn't turn it down for Glendale.
Right. Totally understandable. I mean, obviously, you want to avoid having to fight people you're familiar with and cool with, but at the end of the day, business is business, and sometimes you got to put that stuff aside to get the job done. But give us your thoughts on Wilson as an opponent and how you guys match up stylistically.
You know, I think he's a really tough opponent. He's ranked number 6 for a reason. It's not going to be no easy fight, but you know, stylistically, I think we're both good for each other. You know, I think if I can keep it on my feet standing, I'm gonna have a good time in that fight. And I think, you know, if he gets it on the ground, you know, he's obviously gonna think he has his advantage, and that's probably where he would want to be. So I don't think there's really a secret to this fight. I think you know, I think he's gonna be trying to take me down and impose his will, and I think I'm gonna try to keep it on my feet and impose my will. I don't think there's too much. Just gonna be
Right.
Whoever gets it done, whoever executes better on that night.
Right. One of those classic matchups, the striker versus grappler. Now, you're well known for your toughness and knockout power, but, you know, aside from that, what kind of problems do you think you pose for Wilson that maybe he hasn't faced before?
Well, I'm experienced too. You know, I have a good eye. I think you know, I'm just experienced. I can make adjustments in there. I can find openings. I can make things happen. I'm dangerous the full 15 minutes. So, you know, I think I pose a lot of threats to anybody. So, he's going to have to be on his A game as well.
Now, he's coming off of a 2-fight skid at the moment and obviously wants to get back in the win column. That being said, what kind of a game plan are you expecting from him? Is he going to be really looking to play it safe in this fight and ensure the victory?
I expect him to probably try to put a lot of pressure on me and just get a hold of me and maybe try to tire me out, or to just, you know, keep a dominant position for most of the fight. And I think that's his playing it safe. That's also where he's dangerous. So, you know, I don't think I'm almost, you know, I doubt that he's going to try to come out there and strike with me and play that kind of game with me. So I think he's just going to try to play to his strengths, and I definitely think that's what we'll see.
Okay. And, of course, you'll be looking to build on your current momentum and make it 3 in a row. You know, considering his ranking as well, a victory in Glendale could put you back in the mix for the belt, right?
Yeah, so possibly. I'm not really too worried about that. I'm just worried about Wilson at the moment. You know, he's a tough opponent, and I'm not looking past him. So whatever comes after that, you know, comes. But I'm not in a rush to get back for the belt. I think I got to build some momentum and build my stock a little bit, and then we'll think about that kind of stuff.
Okay, yeah, totally understandable. But, you know, speaking of the title, given, you know, it being your division, I wanted to get your take on this TJ versus Demetrius fight. Is that the right fight to make at this point? And who would you pick to win that one?
I think if TJ drops down, I don't think it's a bad fight to make. I think it draws some interest to the division, and with TJ being a champ at 135, I think he's earned a shot. So, is that what's going on? I don't even know. I haven't paid attention to it.
Well, I mean, there's been a lot of talk about it. I think that, having heard from TJ and Dwayne Ludwig, I mean, I know they're really campaigning for it. Demetrius seems to be on board. They just haven't really figured out the details yet. But I think that that's the fight that they're looking at next. But, a lot of people are saying that would be a true super fight, and that, Mighty Mouse needs this fight not only for legacy but for a big payday. I'm wondering, would you agree with that? And what's your opinion on a guy like Demetrius not being a big draw?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I definitely think, what he's done in this sport, he deserves his big paydays, but at the same time, I can't really say why he's not a bigger draw. I think to the true fans, he's the knowledgeable fans, educated fans. I think, they can see him for what he is, maybe because, at first, I don't know if he wasn't having a whole lot of highlights or what. When I fought him, I called him boring and stuff, but I mean, he's good at what he does, and no one can really do it like him or have done it, so it is what it is. I don't know. Maybe he just needs a few more. Maybe he needs to get promoted better because he has some highlights out there. So, I don't know. Motion maybe needs to promote him a little bit more.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I think that any true fan of MMA, respects his abilities, and I would also agree that the UFC could definitely do a better job of marketing the guy. But I know you're not looking past Wilson at all, but I mean, title aspirations, do you still have them? I mean, is that still the ultimate goal for you moving ahead, without looking past Wilson at all?
Of course, but I'm just more business-minded about it. I don't want to go in there and fight the best guy in the world and get that shot again and not really get what it's worth, So that's why, I'm just working on building my stock right now. Like I said, I got to still take it one fight at a time. I don't really want to look too far down the road anyway. Focus right now on one win at a time. That's been getting me by right now, so I'm going to try to continue that approach.
So it sounds like it's not only the situation that you still have title aspirations, but you also want this to be more feasible for you financially. Is that correct?
Yeah, of course. Fighting for a world title, so especially this time, if I'm gonna earn it back, man, I want to earn it. So I haven't, what I mean. That's what we do this for. I fight for money. I don't really fight for the TV. So that's the goal at the end of the day.
Right. So in that aspect, what do you make of this era that we're in of trash talk? It seems like for anybody to make a decent payday, you have to create some controversy, talk some trash. But for me personally, while I find all this trash talk entertaining, a lot of it's very funny, and it's cool to follow. At the same time, I do miss those days of honor and respect amongst martial artists, and guys getting a payday based on skill alone. Where do you stand on this? Do you feel like you need to maybe start marketing yourself differently in order to get those big paydays?
I don't know if it's something that I need to start doing. It's worked for some people, but I don't really feel comfortable stepping too much out of my comfort zone and doing all that. So I haven't worried about it. I've probably lost a lot of money by not worrying about it, but I'd rather not worry about it. So
absolutely, and you got to stay true to yourself at the end of the day, man.
Yo.
So just to stay with Mighty Mouse here for just a moment, I'm wondering, looking at what he's accomplished so far, and hopefully in the future, you being able to get that rematch with him, what would you do differently in the rematch with Demetrius?
I'd stay a little bit more patient. I'd still put the pressure on him like I did. I'd make him fight, but But I rushed in a lot. I think I have better control of my punches now. I think I fell into a lot of his traps. I didn't have good understanding of awareness of fighting on the outside at the time, and I was rushing in a little bit and just on the ground. There's no excuses. There was just things that I could have done different. I could have been a little bit sharper on fight night. And I figured, this time around, you never know what's going to happen, what kind of injuries you might come across during the camp or something. But with the experience and all the camps that I've done, I figured I've learned how to train a little smarter and to peak on fight night and just be prepared for everything.
Okay. Well, I know you're not looking past Wilson at all, but, definitely – given your style, you're always exciting fights. I'd like to think that would be a cool rematch to have, down the line at some point. But listen, you've been more than generous with your time. I just have a couple more questions here for you. Everybody who knows you, man, knows that you came from humble beginnings, to say the least. And it's pretty clear that growing up in the hood develops a level of resolve and determination that others really have to search for. So when it comes to being athletes, a fighter, tell us about how your past has helped you persevere through the hard times in this sport and continue striving for greatness.
Yeah, I think maybe it's almost like it's not really an option, so you kind of have to learn how to get through tough times or whatever. And I don't know, maybe just kind of lets you know that, keep going, keep fighting, whatever. You're gonna stay afloat. You're gonna get through everything. So, I don't know what I can attribute to what, but it definitely, I would say, helped me, especially in the fight game. So.
All right, fair enough, man. And getting back to Wilson, when you visualize this fight playing out, what do you see? How does the fight unfold? How does the victory come for you? I know you're saying that he's probably going to try to wear you out, but how do you see your hand getting raised?
I'd like to win by a knockout, so that's my goal. That's what that's how I vision it. But, we still got to go out there and get the job done, execute, and but that's what I look for in every fight. So anyway, but I think Wilson has a good game plan for me also. So we're both gonna have to go in there and make our adjustments, see what's going on, and get it cracking.
And talk to me a bit about fighting in front of the hometown crowd. I'd imagine you're pretty pumped to be able to compete in front of everybody. In Glendale, being so close to home, so close to the lab and all of that. I'd imagine you're gonna have a ton of support as well.
Yeah, and definitely, I think better circumstances than the last two times. One time I fought a little injured, and one time I fought on short notice. So I'm really excited to kind of go out there and be able to feel prepared to really give my best performance, no matter what happens.
All right, man. And by the way, how many times would you like to compete this year?
Man, as many as possible. If I'm healthy, I'll get back in there right away. I had to take a little bit of time off after this last fight, but just to get right. But if I'm healthy, I'd like to go.
All right, man. Listen, I greatly appreciate your time. It's been a pleasure to speak with you. First time having a conversation with you. Again, greatly appreciate the time. I know you're trying to get some waffles down right now. In conclusion, man, what message would you have for the division, and what can all the Chicano fans expect come fight night?
Oh, man, you guys know me. I'm coming to fight. I'm coming to give you some good entertainment. It's always going to be a fight. Whoever's fighting me is in for the fight of their life.
All right, man, fair enough. And before we let you go, any shout-outs you'd like to get in, or plugs?
Just give a shout-out to my team at the lab, all my training partners helping me through this camp. Any of my sponsors that have helped me over the years and still support me, Eris Physical Therapy, Ink Affiliated Tattoos, Big Fellas Barbershop, Maryville Chiropractic. So.
All right, my man. Again, greatly appreciate it. Hopefully we can catch up, maybe as the fight draws a little closer or after a big win. wishing you all the best of luck come fight night, and being able to put on a great show in front of the hometown crowd. You have a wonderful night, man, and enjoy those waffles.
All right, thank you, bro. Thanks for having me.
All right, have a good one, man. Well, there you have it, Penn Nation. Another episode in the books, episode 74. Hope you guys enjoyed the conversations with Dom, Raquel, and John tonight. Big thank you to all three for joining us. We'll be back later this week with a huge show. 5 guests from across the globe. I won't spoil it now, but we've got a big show lined up. Until then, thank you all for tuning in. Big shout out to everybody on Team Penn. Make sure you guys bookmark us, follow us on social media. Stay up to date on the sport that you love in mixed martial arts. On behalf of everybody at bjpenn.com, this is Jay Kinch signing off. Mahalo, everybody. Peace out.